In the moss-choked ruins of Tacoma, Washington, there's a pool that no one dares approach. A quiet sanctuary, guarded by an ancient floating eye. An Oculoth who prefers romance novels over raiders and relaxing jazz music over chaos. 4 wastelanders ventured there in search of a simple water pump and found something far stranger. Today, we're sharing their story and bringing it to life in miniature. I'm Benja the Maker, and this pool is closed. Hey, welcome back everybody. I hope you've had a good week. So you'll notice that I started this project, like almost every project I do, with the pink foam. I'm going to be cutting this and scraping it and carving it into some sort of shape of a pool. As you well know, you clicked on the thumbnail and you know this is about an Oculoth at the pool. And I guess this is a good point to drop into story mode for part 1 of Pools Closed. Tacoma had always been a place of gray skies and wet streets, but after the collapse, the city turned into something else entirely. Moss claimed the overpasses, ivy strangled abandoned cars, and birch trees split through concrete like slow-motion explosions. In the middle of all that green, cracked wasteland sat the Tacoma Community Center. Now, nothing but a skeleton of its former self. The sign out front still clung to its rusted bolts, though most letters had peeled away. Someone had scrawled over it in thick black paint, "Pool Closed." For years, no one approached it, not out of superstition, though there was plenty of that, but because they knew something watched from the inside. The creature that called this ruin home had no love for the world. Vorruk, the Oculoth, saw life as a tedious, noisy mess. One massive eye in the center of something that resembled a jellyfish. Many long tentacle-like appendages floating beneath him. He hovered in the air, perfect stillness. His blue-tinted skin shimmered under the dim reflections from the pool beneath. In the long silence of his lair, he had learned to savor simple pleasures. The gentle lap of murky water against the concrete walls, the low hum of an old radio crackling faded jazz music, and a towering pile of romance novels. He worked through them slowly, savoring each page like a fine meal. He had once called himself a scholar of human emotion, though that was merely self-flattery. Vorruk's true love was solitude, and solitude demanded brutal defense. He found humans and other sentient creatures insufferable, a crawling cacophony of need, fear, and lies. The pool had become his sanctuary, once a place of children's laughter and chlorine-stung eyes. It was now an echo chamber for his narcissistic musings. Each day, he drifted lazily above the water, reading, humming along to the warped ballads from a nearly out-of-range radio station, rare out here in the wastes, or sometimes simply staring into the gray sky, thinking of nothing at all. The 4 wastelanders slipped through a gap in the fence, moving with the practiced caution of hunters and old soldiers. Their patchwork armor whispered in the damp air. Jace led the way, tall and broad in battered SWAT gear, an old hunting rifle at the low ready. His brother Drew kept close and behind, leaner, faster, AR slung low, sharp eyes under a worn baseball cap tucked inside his helmet. Both of them the epitome of human resilience. Kaylin, the tall, slender elf, moved along the side, white hair flowing behind her, boots soundless on cracked tiles. Her magic daggers gleamed at her hips, restless fingers always hovering nearby. Last came Crag, the orc, hulking, silent, a sawed-off shotgun in one hand and a spade-sized blade strapped across his back. They were there after a pump. The settlement up north, Miller's Creek, was out of water. A working pump meant survival, clean drinking water, irrigation, trade. In exchange, they'd been promised a crate of ammo, boxes of old MREs, and most valuable of all, free water whenever they returned. The cities that remained in this broken world had no need for such items. Mages and magic users mostly stayed behind high walls, studying and perfecting their craft. But for those who chose this life out here, clean water and a box of ammo meant everything. Jace had called it a routine salvage run. Drew said it would be easy. Kaylin had felt uneasy the entire march south, worn down from cloaking and illumination spells keeping them safe. And Crag never said much, but his tusks clenched tighter as they approached the pool. As they neared the cracked and beaten doors at the edge of the pool room, they heard it, as if it slipped straight into their skulls through a crack in their thoughts. Pools closed. Welcome back, and here I am already into the painting. While I was telling you part 1 of Pools Closed, I went ahead and made some popsicle stick benches. I made the bench part right out of the popsicle stick. I sanded them, and then I went ahead and took some styrene rods and I cut them down to size into perfect legs. I got a lot of good use out of some coffee stirrers, making the molding and the door handles out of those. Anyways, have you ever been to a public pool? Are you part of a family that loves to go to the public pool? Or maybe you religiously go to the public pool every morning for your 20 laps? If you are somebody that goes to the public pool often, I'd like to know how you feel about those people that bring their wireless speakers to the pool. Are you one of those people? What do you think? Why do you do that? Don't do that anymore. Have you ever been to the Seattle-Tacoma area of Washington State? It's a pretty cool place. But if you go out and see the nature there, that's where it's really at. I lived there for many years at a place called Fort Lewis. Something that I think is cool about Washington is how in one area of the state, you've got a rainforest, and then in another part of the state, you've got a desert. One time, I was driving on the I-5 there, and I spied in my rearview mirror a dump truck barreling down the freeway. It ended up smashing into 6 or 7 cars behind me, and the final car reached about 6 inches from the car I was driving. I don't think anybody was injured, but it was quite a wild day. I think right now I'm just going to continue painting, and then I will make a dielectric material out of sawdust, water, and acrylic paint. And then I think I'm going to make another one out of some woodland scenics flocking, glue, and water. I'm going to use these to grime it up here, and then I'm going to douse it in several washes. I think I'll also use a paper clip and turn that into a pool ladder. While I'm busy doing those things, I'll tell you part 2 of Pools Closed. The air turned thick, crushing their chests as if the whole sky had fallen. Crag took a stumbling step back, roaring, but was slammed sideways into a cracked concrete pillar with a shattering boom. He dropped limp against the old blue lockers lining the wall. Jace barely drew his revolver before he was hurled backward, sliding across moss-slick tiles, smashing into the heavy blue gymnasium-style door. With a sickening crack, his gun clattered away as he crumpled to the floor. Kaylin let out a raw, feral scream and lunged, daggers slicing empty air. But 2 tentacles lashed forward in a blur. She froze mid-strike, pinned by invisible force. The Oculoth tilted slightly, as though studying a curious insect. So fragile. Kaylin's mouth opened in a silent sob. With a slow, almost bored twist, she was split cleanly in half, her pieces falling wet and heavy to the concrete. Drew shrieked, stumbling to run, but his legs locked. He was lifted high, flailing, helmet tumbling away, to reveal wild, terrified eyes. The Oculoth drifted forward, massive eye inches from Drew's face, pupil widening and closing, studying the fear. Pathetic. Drew's breath turned to pitiful, choking sobs as the gaze bored into him. He dropped his rifle, the splash swallowed by the dark pool below. Look at me. Drew's own pupils shrank to pinpoints, tears screaming as the psychic presence shattered his mind. Every memory turned to static. Then the grip released. Drew plunged downward. He surfaced once, thrashing, face a mask of horror, sputtering for air, but the water thickened, pulling him under slowly, until only bubbles rose, then nothing. Silence. And now it's time to paint some miniatures. I made most of these ones myself. If you would like to use these, or if you are looking for some kind of small random thing that you just can't find, let me know. I could probably help you out. If there's a link in the description called STLs, that means I found a spot to put them. To be clear, these casualties, these dead bodies, I found these on My Mini Factory, and they fit almost perfectly with the theme I was going for, so I went for it. The paints that I decided to use for this today are cheap craft paints, some Army Painter speed paint, and possibly some Vallejo colors. I think that yellow is one of them. And the wash I'm going to use is Army Painter Standard because I have a ridiculous amount of it here and I'm trying to use it up on my projects. You could just make your own, and I normally would have also, because for what it is, it's grossly overpriced. I will give a little bit of a warning right here. From here on out, there is definitely going to be a lot of gore in this diorama, so if you don't like that, you need to leave. Okay, places, everybody. I'm going to be finishing this up. I'll be painting these guys. I'll be adding some more dialectic material. I'll be putting everything in. I'll be placing everything. There will also be a grand finale resin pour, and then I'll tidy up the sides, and that's probably gonna do it. During this time, I'll tell you the conclusion of Pools Closed. Vorruk hovered there, sanctity restored, scanning the courtyard for any last thoughts. The radio on the duck float crackled again, a woman's voice drifting through the static. Vorruk drifted back, lowering himself toward the water with practiced ease. His single eye turned to his floating paperback, Volume 3 of some endless romance saga. They never listen, Vorruk thought, though no one remained to know. In his mind, he replayed the deaths like idle daydreams. He felt nothing for them, merely loud insects scuttling into his garden. He returned to his book, turning the page with a careful psychic nudge, savoring each word like a fine wine. The pool settled into its unnatural stillness. The duck float turned in lazy circles beside him. Above, clouds gathered through the gap in the ceiling, heavy with rain, the city beyond sinking deeper into green silence. Vorruk drifted higher for a moment, his eye sweeping the horizon. The world was noise and violence, a failed experiment better left to rot. He had no faith in rebuilding, no love for the past, no future to imagine. Only his sanctuary, his music, and his endless stack of romance novels mattered. Illusions of connection he would allow himself to savor. Then, as though satisfied by the thought, he sank back toward the water, the duck float creaking softly. The pool was closed. Alright, and that's gonna do it for Pools Closed. I hope you enjoyed it. If you want to see another one, drop a like and subscribe for the next one. I want to say a big thanks to everybody who subscribed and supported me on my first video. This is the second one. If you guys made it this far, please give me some feedback. What did you like? What did you not like? What could I do to make these better? And with that, have a good week, everybody. Bye-bye.